Imagine this. You've lost 1/3 of your team. Your morale is shattered. The project you're working on is poised to fail. And this is your one chance to rally what's left for one final push where everything will be decided. This is exactly what Henry V was facing at the siege of Harfleur. 1/3 of his army had been decimated by the battle and disease. And each day they would bombard the walls and make some damage, but each night the resilient French would keep on rebuilding them. But finally they made a breach in the wall that was big enough that Henry said, well, you've got to keep on bombarding the walls all the way through the night. Tomorrow morning we will attack. Everything was on the line. In Shakespeare's play, Henry V, the speech before the final battle at Harfleur is not just an example of great leadership, it's also what we would recognize now as an extraordinary piece of, well, performance psychology. Something that we can have fun reverse engineering. So Henry's speech starts with two incredible lines, which follow the rule of many speeches where the opening of the speech often contains the reason for the speech occurring at all. And this is no different, but that's for another blog. He starts off with, once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more, or close the wall up with our English dead. Now in that one line, he started off by doing something that I instantly recognize as a hypnotist, as an actor, as somebody with a deep interest in behavioral psychology. He started off by making himself an equal. He's their king, but he's calling them friends. He's creating a psychological safe space. And then he moves on to, well, identity. But if you don't do this, this is what will be betrayed. Your identity as an Englishman, and also betraying the people who have already died to get us here. That's really powerful stuff. Now, this also reminds me of Patsy Rosenberg, a voice coach, in fact, who has this thing called the second circle. The idea being that when you're talking to somebody, you look for and observe their responses to what you're saying, but in real time, so that you can adjust how it is that you're speaking and what you're communicating. It's like you're talking to somebody as if you have their best interest at heart. You're talking to them like a friend. And that start choice, victory or death, well, it's a bit blunt, but, well, we also know that, radical honesty sometimes results in a greater level of trust. You're given the feeling that you're not listening to somebody who's just doing smoke and mirrors and trying to manipulate you. It's an opening that says trust, it says equality, it says identity, it says stakes. A brilliant beginning. Henry does something quite extraordinary next, which is easy to overlook. He gives them a list of instructions, of physical cues, physical changes. He says, imitate the action of a tiger, stiffen the sinews, conjure up the blood. Now, as someone who works in character transformation, physical transformation for motion capture in particular, including animal studies, I recognize this straight away. See, he's not just giving a speech saying, go here and do that. He's literally directing them through something I would call embodied cognition. It's a state change that he's cueing them to do. This is something that I also do in hypnosis as well, is that I will make the body rehearse a situation in order to make the client feel what that's like. So rehearse a situation where the behavior has changed for the better, for example. What does that feel like? And the body actually goes through a rehearsal and gives you those feelings. Henry is instructing his army on how to get ready for battle. But here's the genius that ties it all together. At the end, Henry then says, I see you standing like greyhounds in the slips, straining upon the start. He's now reading their body language in real time, reflecting it back as evidence that they are ready. Now, whether everyone is actually pumped up or not, by stating it as fact, he's creating a feedback loop for those who do have those feelings and creating a kind of a social consensus pressure for those who may be a little bit more reluctant. And the hunting metaphor is a brilliant reframe, because otherwise This could all come off as basically a military instruction, an order: go here, fight there, die there. Instead, he reframes it as something that's already in them, something that they're actually made to do. Now, whether or not you like Shakespeare, what you've just seen in this speech is nonetheless an incredible piece of cross-discipline mastery. See, Shakespeare has woven in together things that he understood about leadership, about behavioral psychology, about performance techniques. Now, this is centuries before any of these things were actually separate domains, had been sort of divided into distinct domains. And in doing this, Henry isn't creating a false reality for his troops. He's revealing the determination, the energy, the power that is already there, but was hidden by the circumstances, the challenging circumstances they're in. This is just 3 of the 5 layers that Shakespeare's Henry V uses to create this incredibly persuasive appeal to transformation and action. And in the blog that I've written that sort of fills this out a bit more fully, you can see how he uses identity and social accountability as well. So check the description for the link to the blog, and let me know in the comments. Has there been a breach moment, a moment where you needed to rally your team against what seemed like impossible odds? Remember, like, subscribe, follow if you want to hear more of these things.